And then so what we're going to talk about is just kind of basic modal usage and where we put them into sentences. And we're going to do a little practice with them. And then we're going to, if we have time, we're going to take a brief look at how we use them in academic writing. So because we have a little bit less time, I'd like everyone just to take a couple minutes, maybe one or two. So you're looking at a little quick write here on the screen, a little journal. And it says, what's the best thing to do at the beach? So imagine that we're not sitting in our houses and that we're going to the beach right now. Think about the kinds of activities that we typically do when we go to the beach. You can do something that's kind of active, like that's in the water. So like go swimming or go surfing or bodyboarding or something like that. You can do something that's active that's actually not in the water but on the sand itself on the beach. So you can like build a sandcastle or do frisbee or play volleyball or whatever, do some beach games. And then there's two ways that we kind of relax when we're on the beach. We can do that by like sunbathing and sitting in the sun and getting tan and reading, listening to music. Or if we don't want to get a sunburn or have the sun on our skin, right, we can sit in the shade or sit in like an umbrella. So thinking there's kind of two active activities that you can do, one in the water or one on the sand, and then or you can kind of relax on the beach. What do you like doing at the beach? So maybe choose one of these from below or one of your other reasons and try to give a reason or two why you would do the activity. So if you are on your computer, maybe you can type out 2 or 3 sentences, as much as you can do in about 5 minutes. Picking one of these activities. So I like to go swimming when I'm at the beach because it helps me cool down and it gives me some physical exercise. Or I like to be lazy at the beach, or I like to sunbathe because I want to get tan and I find it relaxing to listen to the waves and read a book, something like that. And then also maybe if you have time, try to give a reason why you would not want to do one of the other things. So like, I don't want to go surfing because it's dangerous, and I don't like to get in the water because I don't want to get wet or something like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let's take about 3-4 minutes and just write down a couple examples. So again, if you're on your computer, you can type these into like just like a Word document or a Google form or a Google Doc. If you have a piece of paper out, you can just write them down on a piece of paper. Again, and so I've muted everyone, so if you're talking, then we can't hear you. So if you want to ask a question or if you want to say something, then you can unmute yourself on using the Zoom button that says unmute. Okay, maybe about 1 more minute. And then if maybe a few people want to share their examples, maybe like 1 more minute. right. Does anyone have an example that they want to give to the group of things they like to do at the beach? You have to unmute your microphone.
Are we waiting?
Sorry, Michelle, what did you say?
Okay, it says I'm unmuted. I think that means I should be talking.
I unmuted you, yeah.
Okay, so I don't go in the water at the beach ever because
okay.
I don't like creepy crawlies. And when the water is too dirty, so I can't see what's there.
Okay. Okay.
I don't
so
want,
you don't like going in the water.
I don't want icky
there's...
things to touch me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Yeah. and it can be cold too, right? It can be cold too.
Yeah.
What are some things that you do like doing at the beach?
Oh, I love walking on the beach.
Okay.
Which, because I hear the waves. To me, it's hope it's okay to be somewhat spiritual. I
Sure.
don't really do religion, so I don't really go to church. But when I go to the beach, I feel like I'm an insignificant little thing in this big, massive universe. And to me, that's my church.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's a very
it's
relaxing,
very
right?
peaceful. If I ever get upset or if I'm in a bad mood, that's a perfect place to go.
Yeah, I agree.
It calms me and it makes me feel better. And it makes me feel like I'm a little speck in the big thing.
Perfect. Good. So when we use modals for different types of reasons. So we're looking at the next slide here. I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Michelle. So modals, they're these types of auxiliary verbs, or sometimes we call them helping verbs, and they help change the meaning of other verbs in our sentence. So the reason that we use these types of verbs is that it's when we want to express different kinds of possibilities or opinions, or we want to offer advice or some sort of expectation. So we use modals when we're like less than 100% certain on something. So if we're using Michelle's example and saying, when you go to the beach, going into the water is not fun, right? That may be true for Michelle or for me. I don't really like getting in the water as much either, but it's not true for everyone. So that statement wouldn't necessarily be true for someone else, right? Maybe Carly loves getting in the water, or maybe Yen loves getting in the water, right? And like my children, they want to go swim in the waves as much as they possibly can, even though they're little. And I'm like, it's not safe for them, right? But it's not always true. So we use modals to kind of change the meaning of sentences to make them into different forms of expression. So when we talk about like, you can go swimming, you don't have to, right? That's ability. Or you should or could go swimming, right? That's a possibility. So we use these modals in conjunction with other verbs to change the meanings of sentences. So let's look at some of these. So we use can for present ability. So for example, there are several beaches that you can surf at in San Diego. So that doesn't mean that you are going to go surf in San Diego. That doesn't mean that you have to. It just means that there's an ability for you to do so. Obviously not right now because we're all inside, but normally, right, you can go to any kind of beach in the San Diego area and you can go surfing, right? So we use can as a present ability modal verb, okay? May is also used for a present timing, but we use it for a possibility. So the example I've used here is that the parking lot in Ocean Beach may be full by 10 a.m., right? It doesn't mean that it will be, but there's a possibility that right now, if it's like a beautiful sunny day, that a parking lot's gonna fill up, right? Or if you went to like Costco right now, right? If you went to Costco, the parking lot may be full because it's kind of later in the day and maybe people wanna run some errands before all this rain hits. Again, it does not mean that it is really full, but it may be full. And then it also can be a future possibility, right? So if I don't go get baby wipes soon for my kids, then I may run out tomorrow, right? And so again, that might not happen, right? But it could happen. So we use may to talk about either a present possibility or a future possibility. And again, in your little controls, there's a little like hand that you can wave if you have a question. So if you do have a question, you can either wave that hand or you can put it into the chat feature. Okay. So right now we're just kind of looking at all the different types of modals, and then we'll talk about where they go in the sentence, and then we'll do a little practice with them. Okay. All right, so could is very similar to can, except for its past ability. So I could surf when I was younger, or before we were told to stay inside, right? I could go to the beach in the mornings, right? So we use it for past ability. And then this one's a little trickier because we can use could for a present or future possibility as well. So this is where we could say, we could go surfing later after class. I could go to Costco after I'm done talking to you guys. I may go to Costco. So a lot of these modals sometimes kind of can be used the same way, and could is one of those that can be used in a similar way, right? So again, I could go to class on campus in February. I'm talking about a past ability now, right? We can't necessarily do that. Or I could go to class later this fall, and that's saying that maybe there's a future possibility that we'll be back on campus. Okay. We use should for advice, okay? So because we live in San Diego, we should learn how to surf, right? I hear that all the time. Yeah, you live in San Diego, you probably surf, right? Or you should learn how to surf. So when you're giving advice to someone, should is the modal that we use with that. Or we can use it to express expectation. So I think you should learn how to surf since you live in San Diego. So it's almost like an expectation. Or right? Sometimes I'll tell my wife that I'm hungry and she's like, oh, if you're hungry, then you should go to the fridge and get food, right? So she's expressing expectation that I'm feeding myself, exactly, right? Or you should cook dinner tonight, or we should have pizza tonight, right? We're giving advice for maybe what we want to do later in the future. And then must. So must is a very strong modal. So it's used for things that are absolutely necessary, such as laws, rules, or requirements. So right now we have something, right, that says you must stay inside, right? So that's a very firm kind of command or a law or a rule or requirement for everyone right now that you must do something. So it has to do with compliance. And so we use it for rules and regulations, right? So in some places you have to pay for parking at the beach, or in some cities in the United States right now, you must stay inside unless you have to be outside for some reason. Or obligations, right? I want to go surfing, but I have to go to class this morning. Or I would love to go to the beach, but I have to stay inside. So must is like a very strong version of the modal. Have to is also kind of saying that that there's a rule behind something, but it's not as strong. It's not as heavy as a usage, right? So when you must do something, it means that you definitely need to do it. If you have to do it, it's more of like an obligation, right? Like man, I really want to take a nap right now, but I have to do some homework, right? It's not that you must do that, but you should do it. It's more of an obligation. Okay, so as always with English, there's some tricky things with this. So when we're using modals, the negative forms of must and have to change the meanings. So just like with must, if you must stay inside, I'm saying that you definitely need to do that thing. But if you say you must not do something, then it's the opposite. So I'm saying you can't do that. So if you say you must not park in the beach in San Diego, or you must not go outside, then I'm saying that you're not allowed to do that, okay? Same thing with have to plus not. So it means we add the auxiliary verb do or does or did. We would say you do not have to bring an extra wetsuit, or you do not have to go to school on the weekends, or you do not have to go to campus anymore, right? So now I'm saying you are not obligated to do that. So when we add not to those two things, then it kind of flips the meaning of them. Okay, so modals, they can be useful in conclusions or to end a conversation by making a suggestion or giving some advice. So this is very useful for when we're writing essays. So usually in that final paragraph, that conclusion paragraph, a lot of times we want students to make some sort of suggestion or advice to the author, or kind of proclamation to the audience. Or you could say, since we have class every day, we should go surfing on the weekends, right? After talking to the entire class, I think it's clear that we must have a field trip, right? We've had these type of discussions where now all of our classes must be online, right? All right, again, so the modals, the first couple ones we looked at, can, could, may, and should, they're very useful when you're stating your opinion, okay? So they help make you sound more believable, right? So if I was gonna say wearing a wetsuit makes you a better surfer. Again, I don't really surf, but I know plenty of people that do not surf in wetsuits and they're pretty good surfing, right? So you can't say 100% that if you wear a wetsuit, then you're gonna be a better surfer, because I could buy a wetsuit right now, go out and surf, and I would be terrible, right? And there would be people that don't need them that could be a good surfer. So if you said wearing a wetsuit could make you a better surfer, or can make you a better surfer, or may make you a better surfer, that's more believable because, right, wetsuits, they make you float a little bit easier. So there is some validity to that, but it doesn't mean it's always true. So when you use modals, it makes your opinions a little bit more believable. And I see this all the time in students writing when they say like something is 100% true, right? If you're talking about food waste being a problem in the world, and you say, okay, everyone needs to only buy what they need at the supermarket, right? That doesn't work for everyone. So if you use the modal should, like everyone should buy only what they need at the supermarket, then it makes it a little bit more of a valid opinion. And although may and could are both used to indicate a future possibility, may has a little bit more certainty to it. So, but in the negative, could not means a past or present impossibility. So like, for example, they could not go surfing today, or they could not go surfing yesterday. That means that you were unable to do that at all. But if I say you may not surf tomorrow, it's just saying that most likely you won't be able to, right? For all we know, maybe tomorrow we'll be able to go outside, right? So there's a little bit of uncertainty to that. All right, let's look at a little practice here. And then I could have done a poll for this. So let's go ahead and read through these. And if you could type your responses into the chat, maybe that would help a little bit, or you could unmute yourself. But in the first one, it says marketing experts think that a restaurant in a department store could attract more shoppers. Is this saying a future possibility or a present ability?
That future possibility?
Okay, future possibility. Future, good. Right, yeah, so it's this future possibility because we see could here, right? It doesn't mean that having a restaurant in a department store necessarily is gonna attract more customers, but it does mean that it could, right? So here it's a future possibility that, right, if you put a Starbucks in your store that people are like, ooh, I can drink coffee and shop at the same time, it's a possibility, right? But it's not a certainty. So that's why could is a better choice here. And so yeah, it would be this future possibility right here. And then real quick, if everyone can take a look in the chat, I'm gonna post a link in there. If I can make it come up. The link that I'm posting in here is actually a link to a Google Drive folder that I created. And so it has a copy of this PowerPoint presentation that you can take and use for yourself. And then it's also got a copy of the handout that you can follow along with for the exercises that we're doing here in the PowerPoint as well. So if you paste this link into your browser, you should pull something up that looks like that looks like this right here. And it says this modal surfs up in this workshop activity handout. And you'll be able to pull up the activities that we're looking at right here. The possibility and stuff like that, just to help everyone out. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So people who live in an earthquake zone should keep an emergency supply kit. Again, is that a requirement or advice?
Requirement.
So it sounds like a requirement, right? But live in an earthquake should keep an emergency supply kit. So here our modal that we're using here is should. And so remember, for requirements, we want to use that must or that have to, right? So we live in an earthquake zone, right? Because we live in California, but I do not have an emergency kit in my house. I should, right? I should, right? So it's some advice. So people would say if you live in a place that has an earthquake zone, you should have one. So it's more of a piece of advice. If it was a requirement, then it would be using that must modal. So it's advice. Right? Psychologists know that our body language can show our emotions. So psychologists know that our body language can show our emotions. So the modal in this one, right, is can. And so are we talking about present ability or future possibility?
Present ability.
Present ability, right? So it's saying that you can do this right now, right? Psychologists know that our body language can show our emotions. So it's saying we have the ability at this time. It's not something that's gonna happen in the future. It's something that can happen right now. So we use can. So that means it's present ability. All right, and then, where'd that go? All right, without certain plants for food, many animals may not adapt to climate change. So is that a possibility or an impossibility? So it's may not. Without certain plants for food, many animals may not. Possibility. Right, yeah, it's actually more of an impossibility because it's got the not here. So it's got the negative, so it's may not adapt to climate change. So it's an impossibility. And then the last one says, without oxygens, humans cannot live on any planet. So again, is that a possibility or an impossibility?
Possibility.
Cannot, right, is making it negative. So it'd be more of an impossibility. Okay, so you may be asking, where do we put these into a sentence? Okay, so some common things that we look at with modals is that we do not use the preposition to after a modal. So if you say like, if you go surfing, you must to bring a surfboard, you would not do that. Okay, modals are always followed by the base verb, right? So in the beginning, I had you write down activities that you like doing at the beach. If you wanted to turn those into modals, then you would need to include your original verb, but you would add in this helping verb to help you change the meaning of the sentence, right? So if you said right now we are going surfing in Ocean Beach, if we wanted to make that advice, we would say right now we should go surfing. And so it's the base form of the verb. And we'll look at some more examples of that. Everyone can use sunscreen at the beach, right? So we should not use two modals together. We just have to pick one, right? It's either everyone should use sunscreen or everyone can use sunscreen. But again, this changes the meaning here, right? If you're saying everyone should use sunscreen at the beach, then you're saying that it's advice, right? Everyone should use sunscreen so you don't get a sunburn, right? If you say everyone can use sunscreen at the beach, then you're just saying that everyone has the ability to do so, not necessarily that they should or shouldn't. And then the last one, it says, when surfing, you should cut in line for the waves. So when you're making a sentence negative, the not goes between the modal and the verb. And I'll say that again. So when you're making a sentence into a negative statement using modals, the not, it goes between the modal and the verb. So here it says, when surfing, you should cut in line for the waves. Not is in the wrong place here. It should go, when surfing, you should not cut in line for waves, right? You must not go outside right now, right? You don't have to watch TV all day, right? But you should get exercise. All right, so this one says, do you need a modal in your sentence? So how do you know if you need one, right? We don't want to just throw modals into every single sentence. We want to use them if something is maybe not true all the time, or if we want to give advice or some sort of suggestion, right? So one thing that you hear all the time is that sunshine causes skin cancer, right? That's why you need to use suntan lotion, because you will get skin cancer. Well, some people don't get it, right? Some people, instead of putting suntan lotion, they put baby oil on, right? And they're just like, I want to get super tan, and they get really, really dark, and they never develop skin cancer, right? So it's definitely a good idea to use sunscreen, and people recommend it, including doctors, but it doesn't definitively cause skin cancer. So we use a modal here, sunshine can cause skin cancer, to show that's not 100% true all the time. And then using the correct modal. So you do not have to park on the beach in Ocean Beach. You must not park, right? When we say must, it's giving it more weight. It's saying not only do not do that, but you can't do that, right? So if you say, you shouldn't go to the beach right now, that's a piece of advice, but you must not go to the beach right now is an actual command, right? So if I'm giving you advice, I'm saying you shouldn't go to the beach, I'm basically just saying you're your own person, you can make your own decision, right? But if I was like a person of authority or a police officer, and I would say you must not go to the beach, that's where you're given more of a command. And so just a reminder, right, have to and must, they have different meanings. Have to is just kind of a softer version of must. Okay, if possible, we'll look at them here together as well, but if you also can look at your handouts. Which is not there, never mind. Okay. Don't look at your handout, look at this. So it says, without proper training, marathon runners probably not could complete the course. So how would I fix this sentence? And so for this one, you're gonna have to turn off your mics. How do we think we fix this first one? So first of all, what's the modal in this sentence?
Could.
Could, okay. So we have could. Without proper training, marathon runners probably not could complete the course. So what needs to change to make this sentence correct?
So can I say could not?
Could not, right? So we want to remember when we're making a sentence negative, not goes between the modal verb and the base verb, right? So could not complete. That's how we would do that one. Okay, good job. Many older people should benefit from a yoga exercise program. So where's our modals?
Maybe could and should.
Could and should, okay. And so remember, we don't want two of those together. So we would just pick one. So which one makes more sense here? Do you think could or should sounds better?
Could.
Could.
Yeah, should, right? Should is kind of giving advice. And since you're not really talking to anyone, it would be better to just talk about the possibility. So many older people could benefit from yoga. You're not necessarily saying they should do it. You're just saying it's a possibility, a future possibility that they could benefit, right? So you would just delete that one out so there's not two in a row. And then it says, for legal reasons, a coach have to provide safety equipment to athletes. What would this be?
Have to. I think it has.
Yeah, so I think Michelle and Yen were both saying this, right? It would be has to, because it's a singular subject. For legal reasons, a coach has to provide safety equipment to athletes. And it says the power of ocean waves can generate electricity.
Generate without the S.
Okay, and why would we make it generate?
Because generate goes with the power that ocean waves have. It's a single.
Well, this is actually the
entity.
power of ocean waves, right? Can generate electricity. So there's some agreement there, but also because we use the base form of the verb when we're using the modals. Right? So whenever we have this helping verb in front of it, then we want to use the base form of this verb as well. So we wouldn't conjugate it as well. And generate. And then it says, because of their different chemistry, oil and water no can be mixed. What do we think?
Water cannot be mixed.
Cannot. Right? Again, it's in the wrong place. So we would say cannot. Okay, then it says for fog to form, cool air must moving over warmer water. Again, if this is our modal here, must, then what could be fixed here?
Must move.
Right, the base form. So moving, right, is the progressive tense. So we want that to be moved. It must move over warm water. And the giant humpback whales can dive to great depths in the ocean. The cans are modal here. What do you think?
Have to. Have to.
No, they don't have to. Right, ocean whales, they could just swim kind of like 2 feet below the surface and still do their thing. So it's not have to.
Could to drive.
So we would remove
To.
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 Perfect, right? So we would take out to here. Okay. So the giant humpback whales can dive to great depths in the ocean. All right, so just as a kind of general recap, right, there's a lot of different types of modals, but essentially we want to use them when we want to talk about the ability of something, the possibility of something, when we want to offer our opinion or some advice or deliver expectations or necessity, right? Can, we use it to talk about present ability, right? You can come to as many workshops as we provide at Mesa College. It means you have the ability, right? Or we may have more this week, right? There's 3 more. could, we use it for past ability or present future possibility, right? So you could have attended some of our workshops in March that we had on Zoom, or you could attend more Zoom workshops this week, right? So you have some future possibility. Some advice, right? You should attend some more workshops. I think there's one on how to use sources, and I think Dr. Kushkaki is going to do a workshop as well. So you should go to those. So it's advice and expectation, right? Professor Arona maybe gave some expectations, right? You should attend this workshop so you can learn about modals. So that's one way we can use those. Right, must we use for laws and regulations and rules. So things you definitely need to do, right? You must not go to the beach right now, right? Have to is like must, but it's not, it's more of an obligation, not like an actual rule, right? So you have to stay inside unless you need to go somewhere. And then again, right, we have some general kind of rules, some errors, right? We don't want to use two. We want to make sure the base form comes after the modal. We don't use two of them together. We pick one based on the meaning that we think it should have. And that, right, not comes after the modal, but before the base verb. Again, I will give the link to the Google folder that I've created. So there's a couple more activities that we didn't get to today. And then there's more about how we use modals for academic writing, if you want to take a look at those. And again, if you didn't get a chance to fill out your Google form, yeah, hold on, bud. If you didn't get a chance to fill out your Google form, then I'm going to type the link in here real quick. Come here.
A Jackie.
All right, come here. You want to say hi?
Dada.
Yeah.
I need Jackie.
Okay, cool. And then, so I'm going to type in the Google form link right now. And then everyone will have the form. Hold on, I'll give it to you a second. The form and then a link to our folder, right? And then again, the folder is going to look like this right here. So everyone's going to have access to this, so you can open up the PowerPoint. You can open up the PowerPoint and kind of review the things that we just talked about and do some of those activities. And then there's a handout that everyone can use as well to do the activities. So again, I'm going to post that in the link right now. And thank you for coming to the workshop. And the recording of this Zoom meeting will be up on our Canvas webpage pretty quickly. So we will send the link out to the schools. So if you have a question, you can unmute your screen and ask me a question. And I'll be happy to answer it to you, or you can type it in the chat. So cool. Michelle, anything to add?
No, thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Me too.
See you-
I appreciate it. I'll
see you
tell
at the
my
next
students
one.
to look at it.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So, and then there's another, there's a couple more workshops this week, and then not next week, but the next Monday on I think April 20th, I'm going to do another workshop on gerunds and infinitives and how we use those in sentences. And it'll be hopefully a little bit smoother than this one. We're still trying to figure out how to get everyone signed up and everything, but yeah. Please check out the Zoom workshops, and if anyone needs extra tutoring support, we're offering that as well. So here, let me type in these messages. So again, this is the form. The first one is the form to fill out just for your attendance. And so you can copy and paste that, and this last one is for our folder. And so this Google Drive one, if you get access to that, then you should be able to see the PowerPoints and download them and everything. Okay. Anything to add, anyone?
I do.
Okay.
Well, no, more of a question.
Sure.
When I go to before I do the next online class,
Yeah.
Do I need to look for a link so I can fill out the Google form in advance? Because today it took me forever and you guys waited on me for quite a while.
Sure.
If I can do it in advance, I would.
Well, if it's going to be for one this week, then you can use the one I sent you
Okay. Okay.
because it has all three little buttons to choose from.
Okay.
So if you look in that one, right? Here, right? It says, what workshop are you attending?
Yes.
So you chose this one. So you can, if it's for this week, you can get covering the cover letter and then prove your search skills. So you can use this same form to sign up for both of these as well. And then if you want, if you sign up for more in future weeks, you can always email the person that's running the Zoom session for the link beforehand. I don't have a copy of all the workshop links. Otherwise, I would just send them to you now. Or you can email Kim Locker and she can probably give them to you as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yen, any questions for me?
Oh, thank you. No, I don't have.
Perfect.